And we are live. We already have two guests in the audience. And this is such a special episode because it's our first guest interview.
Mm-hmm.
And she's actually a member of the Mystic Society and also of Threshold. So we're very excited to have you here, Kathryn.
Yeah, thank you. I'm so excited to be here and have this conversation with you guys.
It's going to be very
It's
exciting.
amazing.
Yeah. So, for those of you who don't know Kathryn, she is a spiritual wealth coach, creator of Empowered Way, author of 5 books, and she guides women through their awakening into abundance and purpose. Kathryn is someone who bridges the spiritual and the practical in such a powerful way. Her story of awakening out of the courtroom, which we're going to be talking about, and into her true path is one many people will resonate with. So welcome to the show, everyone. We're so excited that you're here. Jesse, it's always a pleasure to co-host this with you.
Before we get started, we're going to drop in.
Let's do that.
We're just going to do a quick drop in to your body, to the place where the discernment lives. And that's the place that we want you to be listening to these episodes from, so that you can take what you're meant to from these beautiful conversations. So if it feels safe to do so, just soften your gaze or close your eyes. Feel whatever is holding you up right now. Maybe it's the chair, maybe you're laying in bed. Just let your body be a little heavier here. Taking a slow, deep breath in through the nose and a sigh on the way out. Again, an inhale, filling up your ribs, your lungs. Exhaling, letting the day begin to melt off your shoulders. Let's bring one hand to the heart here, one hand to the belly, feeling your own warmth beneath those palms. And on your next inhale, imagine breathing in the presence of the divine. And on your exhale, releasing any pressure you have to perform, to fix, or to impress. And let's get into this beautiful conversation.
Thank you, Jess. For those of you who are in the audience, we invite you to drop in questions for Kathryn or feedback or anything that comes to mind. Like, we want to make these episodes conversation with you guys as well. We're very happy that you have joined us. So yeah, let's get started. So I think that the first thing that we would love to know, Kathryn, is just to learn a little bit more about your background, your origin story. I know that you started as a litigation attorney and you saw a lot of success in the traditional world, but at some point you started to feel a bit of discomfort and like that was not your true path. So yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
Right. Thanks, Juan. Thanks, Jesse, for having me. So that introduction where Jesse does the more feminine embodied presence and then your masculine strength and structure. That's what I was searching for my whole life. I grew up in a sea of boys. I have all brothers. One of them is a twin. My mom was working on her PhD in psychology, so she wasn't around a lot. She was always in her office studying, and we were kind of on our own. And I always felt like I was missing something. Always. And that was the need. That was the hole, if you want to call it that I didn't know how to fill. So I did what everyone else did. You know, you go to college, you go to high school, go to college, you decide on a career. My father was a lawyer, so that was kind of an easy thing.
Logical.
I thought about psychology. I was always interested in psychology, but back then it was all about Freud, and they didn't really talk about Carl Jung. If they had talked about Carl Jung, I would have gone absolutely in that direction. But it was all about Freud and uncovering and unraveling your past and why did you, all that. That's one way to approach it. It never resonated with me. So I went ahead and did the legal career thing and learned a lot. It was never really me though. I never really felt totally comfortable. And I helped a lot of people. I was happy with what I was doing, made a great income, but you get caught in that corporate structure. I worked for a corporation and you kind of get caught and you get the golden handcuffs, so to speak. So it wasn't until, and this was kind of what really broke it open for me. I had been reading spirituality, getting kind of deep into it, started meditation, and started learning that there's so much more inside of me to listen to.
Beautiful.
I kept looking for external authority to give me permission until I realized I can give myself permission. Wait, what? And so it's the voice you listen to. Do you listen to the ego when it's going on a rampage and you act on that? Or do you take some time and learn to go within and discern that inner voice, that inner sovereignty. And so that's what I started doing, and it led me to writing. I have written 5 books. I get inspired. So I love telling stories, and I try to do that in my books, but my books always have these spiritual principles that I've been talking
Mm.
about. So the first book I wrote was called Walk with the Master, and it's a story about Jesus when he's in his early 20s. And the story was written for kids who read chapter books. So, Jess,
Yeah.
up with your kids.
I'll
And
have to make them read it.
it's out of the
Got it.
publisher went bankrupt. It's out of print, but I'm happy. I
Oh,
have several copies. I'm happy to send you one. But the story is told from the view of a dog.
Wow, interesting.
This dog is
that
in
is
Nazareth,
very
he's about to
interesting.
give up, and then Jesus walks up, and he's like, "Oh, I wanna follow him." So that's why it's called Walk with the Master.
Ah,
And it
amazing.
was
That is
just a
so
fun
cool. I
story.
actually think my son would love that.
Okay, send me your address, and I'm happy to send you a copy. So that was really fun, and I started going that route, and, I was successful with that book, especially with homeschoolers.
Yeah, that's what I
But
was thinking.
something called me. I didn't wanna be categorized as just a Christian author, because
Mm,
to me, there's so much. I mean, I am a Christian, but I call myself a mystic Christian, which is
mhm.
why this group was so attractive to me. It's I mean, you got anyway, I won't get into that, but there's just so much there. I just I love when you guys go into different interpretations of the Bible. Anyway, so here I am. I created Empowered Way pre-COVID, became certified as a sacred money archetype coach because I just kept seeing people, especially women, having so many struggles with money. And sacred money archetypes, once you take the assessment, you know who you are with money and why you do what you do. And it's
Yeah.
kind of like this roadmap. And all of a sudden you see, that's why I made that decision.
Yeah.
Or maybe this is how I could do something better. So it was a combination of psychology, spirituality, and practicality. And that was like, okay, I'm in.
That's so cool. I think we all
Yeah.
should learn about that. Like nobody teaches us about that. And from my personal experience, I think this is something that I would really need to understand why I am the way that I with money
Mhm.
without like attaching any emotion to it, right? Just like looking at it from a neutral perspective, like, okay, so why do I have these
Yeah.
behaviors? And now that I know how I am, how can I work with that? Right?
Exactly. Because as you know, you can't change anything that you're not aware of.
Yeah.
So if your unconscious patterns and stories that you picked up when you were a child and didn't know any better are still running your financial life, you're never going to change. It's
Mm.
just that's just a basic truth of human psychology, right?
Mhm.
So the empowered way you see now has been built over time because I kept adding to it. I haven't taken been the human design, but I think I'm a manifester because I just keep creating. It's just so
Mm.
fun. And so
Yeah.
now with AI, the fun thing is I wrote The Money Tree. It got published in 2021. And with AI, I saw that you could create your own GPT agent.
Yeah.
So I'm like, "Oh, well, I'm gonna figure that out." And I did. So now I have Flo, who is the narrator from the book, as the GPT agent. And when you gain access to Flow, you also learn your sacred money archetypes. And if you're a business person, an entrepreneur, there's 5 sacred pillars in your business that once you get those aligned and you understand who you are in each of those pillars, it smooths out
I
everything.
need flow in my life right now.
I literally was just thinking that it sounds
Yeah.
fabulous.
And so she's on my website. You can find her on my website, and you get the assessments with the instructions of how to install Flow into ChatGPT. It's kind of a turnkey system. So
That is
really
very
cool.
cool.
And
Yeah.
then you want to hear what else I've done?
Go ahead.
Catherine has hacked technology. I love
I
this.
love
No,
that.
well, it's surface, but give me the tool and I'll play with it. I'm basically
Mhm.
playing, right?
Yeah. Life is fun once you get into that playful flow.
Yeah.
Flow.
The other thing I did, I'm doing the Sovereign Women's Circle now because to me, women, it's the whole patriarchy and the cultural
Mm.
messages that we've received. I've expanded my scope beyond money to sovereignty.
Yeah.
And it kind of
Yes.
goes back to what I said in the beginning. When you get to know who you are and your inner verse, your inner voice, that's
Mm,
when you can start showing up authentically. And what happens in the outside world isn't going to impact you because you know who you are. You're no longer a victim. So, if I was going to summarize my journey, it would be from victimhood to sovereignty.
mm.
And for me, being the age that I am, I've done, lots of things, and here I am now. You always hear of the archetypes, the maiden, what is it? Maiden, priestess,
Maiden
crone,
Mother Crone.
maiden, mother,
Maiden
crone.
Mother.
Thank you. And I always thought there should be a fourth category before crone. I am not a crone. And
I
that
mean, but they're
is,
wise.
I know, but that word, that just, for me, it carries some baggage. But before crone, to me, there's another archetype. And
Mm,
that's the middle aged woman who has
mm.
discovered her sovereignty and is living through it.
Love that.
That's beautiful.
Love that. By the way, Dawn is
So here I
asking
am.
what is the website. So I've just shared the website in the chat for people that are live, but we're going to be sharing your website in the show notes as
Yeah,
well. So anyone that's interested can go and learn everything about you, which I'm pretty sure they will.
They will.
I'm pretty much an
They're
open
imme
book.
they're immediately downloading Flow, like,
I
immediately.
know. I
Anyone
know.
who hears this, I'm doing that as soon as we're done here.
Yay. So I have to tell you, because you guys always talk about your mystical experiences, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And if I can just share a real quick story that to me just opened up everything.
We would love
And
to
like
hear
I
that.
said, I'd been on the spiritual path, and this was before COVID. We took a trip out to Hawaii, and we stayed on the island of Kauai. Never been there. Beautiful. It's mountainous. It's just gorgeous. And we took one of those snorkeling cruises because we wanted to get out on the ocean. And it was a catamaran. So it had two hulls,
Mm.
and the front of the boat had what's called the fly bridge. So one person could go out there and stand. And
Yeah.
on the particular day we went on this tour, we were going along the Nepali coast. And I don't know if you've ever seen the Nepali coast. It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
It looks like at a Jurassic Park. The
Yeah.
mountains just go right to the ocean. It's just stunning. And on that particular day, the ocean was kind of rough. So the captain told us, we're not going to be able to snorkel where I thought we were because it's too rough. If you're going up on the front on the fly bridge, be sure you hold on to the rails because, the boat was kind of going like this and he didn't want anybody flying off the front because they were doing the Titanic, I'm king of the world.
Mm.
Right. So I went up there because I'm like, I'm doing this. I went up there and holding on. And there was just something about the motion of the boat, the ocean breeze, this gorgeous scenery. And I just opened up and I said to God, help me be more like you. Just help me get rid
Beautiful.
of everything I don't need and help me be more like you. And as I'm standing there, I'm not expecting anything. I just, okay, here I am. You know what I heard? I heard that same sentence repeated back to me. God
Ooh.
saying to me, help me be more like you.
Wow.
And I was like, wait, what? Who just said that? And it took me a minute and I was like, okay. So do you see this? And I started pointing to the mountains. Do you see this? And I just started playing a game and I would get yes, yes. And then, I was like, this is so cool. And then I saw this flash of silver in front of the boat and it was a pod of dolphins right then,
Wow.
just to kind of seal the moment.
Mm.
And I was just blown away, obviously.
Wow. The divine
And
always, sorry.
I think about that moment a lot. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say that the divine always manifests through animals.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
interesting.
they showed up and we had not seen any dolphins in the trip before that. And
That's
so, of course, all the little kids rushed up to the front and they wanted to see the dolphins, and that's great. And then when we turned around and went back, we saw a whole, like 2 or 3 whales just breaching. And the captain was like, well, this is very unusual. And I'm like, yeah.
wow,
Wow.
such a beautiful story. I'm curious because you mentioned that you've always been a Christian, but now you consider yourself a mystic Christian. How was that like transition from just like traditional Christianity, which I'm guessing you grew up in a Christian household, to like being more of a mystic?
Great question. So I grew up Catholic,
Okay,
You're
and
in good
guilt was
company here.
always, yeah, I know. Guilt
same
was
here.
always a very weapon.
Mm,
Yeah. My mom, I loved her dearly, but she knew how to turn on the guilt.
The shame parenting, am I right?
Yeah. Yeah. And My brother and I are the youngest, and the next brother older than us was born mentally retarded. So I think that's where her guilt came from. She had a lot of
Mm,
issues with that. And I believe I picked that up in the womb. I'll just say that. She didn't want to get pregnant again, and then she's pregnant with twins. There's that, but it took me a long time to step out of guilt that wasn't mine. I didn't do anything to be guilty. So I went to a lot of different sessions with energy workers and not necessarily therapists, but I knew this wasn't mine, but I couldn't seem to get rid of it. And
mhm,
so it was just a process of unraveling and letting go. So the
mhm,
thing about being a mystic Christian, I totally believe in Jesus and why he came and what he did. And he showed us the path to love and how to live. It's what the church has done to his teachings that I have a problem with.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
same here.
I
And
don't know
the
if you
church, they back in the what, 12th, 13th, 14th centuries wanted to get rid of heretics. And there was a group of people in Europe called the Cathars, and they followed the way, the desert mother and fathers, the way Jesus taught. And the church hired, people to go kill them, and they just killed and I got a real problem with that. But
mhm,
that was people, humans, not Jesus. So you have to separate the 2. So when
absolutely.
I say mystic Christian, it's more of the interpretations of what you guys provide
Mhm,
and the deeper meaning, especially when you go back to the original word that was used by Jesus when he was teaching
mhm.
and what that meant in Aramaic. Is that how you say it?
Aramaic.
Aramaic.
Yeah.
Aramaic, yeah. Instead of the 5 different interpretations that have it be something totally different.
Yeah.
And it's always about interpretation. Though, like anyone can read the Bible, even in like the original teachings in Aramaic, and it's always open to your own interpretation. And it's beautiful. That's how it should be, right? Without canceling the other person's interpretation.
I
Right,
think that's
but go ahead.
Sorry. I was just gonna say, I think that's where people get it wrong with Gnosticism, is they think that Gnosticism is like the text that you're reading, like the Gnostic text, but Gnosticism is actually inner knowing, right? You're reading someone else's gnosis. So if you're a Gnostic, you're actually just somebody who tries to have a one-on-one experience with God.
Right, which is where I've landed.
And I believe
Yeah.
that all of us have inner knowings, and that
Mhm.
intuition, though, that people call, it's an inner knowing. It's gnosis. Like we're all in some way Gnostics, right?
Even like
Exactly.
sitting here listening to this, whoever's like what your discernment's pulling from it, what your discernment's resonating with, and that's what you're taking, like that is literally your inner Gnostic. You're just not giving it that label. You're afraid to even like step into that because you've been told it's bad.
Right, right. But it's who is your authority? Who are you listening to? That's what I
Mhm.
always come back to. And when I
Yes.
feel fear or discomfort, who am I listening to? And it's
Someone
usually
else
the
or your
ego.
sovereignty.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
But you're in charge of your own sovereignty. That's the
Yeah.
thing. That's one of the other things I had to learn because I kept waiting and thinking, oh my gosh, well, that person has the answer. No, wait, that person's program is going to solve it.
Mm.
And you finally have
Yeah.
to realize no one is coming to save you.
Mhm.
And you wanna know when I realized that? This is another quick story. Before our daughter was born, we were into motorcycles. So we
Mm.
lived in a small town outside of Dallas and decided to go, to Fredericksburg, Texas, to do a motorcycle ride. And for some reason, somebody didn't check the weather, and I'm riding my own motorcycle, and it starts pouring rain. And I was not comfortable riding a motorcycle on a highway in the rain, but we couldn't stop. There was no place to stop. And
Mm.
unfortunately, I had an open face helmet, so I had goggles, but the rain was
Yeah.
just, and it was cold. And so, you go through, when you're in a situation like that, you go through your mind going, well, I could stop and leave my motorcycle and ride on the back of someone else. Or is there a driver in the group, somebody who could drive my motorcycle and I could ride? You go through all the different scenarios. And none of those were gonna fit. And I finally just said, "God, please, what do I do?" And what I
Yeah.
heard is, "You've got this. No one is coming. You're okay." And then it's like, "Oh,
I feel like we
yeah,
all need to hear that.
you got this. I've got you. No one is coming. Keep going.
Mhm. Mhm.
No
Yeah.
one is
That's
coming to save you."
Have you ever read that Footprints poem?
Mhm.
Footprints in the Sand?
Yeah.
Someone gave that to me, like, when I had cancer when I was a kid, and it was up on my wall for a really long time. But it really just stuck with me, is that you're never actually alone. There's always a second set of folks
Well, and
in the
that's the
stand.
thing. I love calling in my angels and guides to say, "Hey, when I need you, please be here." And I did that before getting on this call because I wasn't quite sure how this was gonna go. 'Cause you guys
Nobody's
get
coming
really
but you.
I know, exactly. You guys get really deep and, you know, I always think I should know all the answers. Well, guess what? I don't.
You actually do, because today we're getting really deep into Kathryn,
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
and
there's a lot
only
of
you have those answers.
exactly.
I have the answers for me. I'm not sure they're gonna fit for anybody else.
Yeah. But I
No, they
loved
will.
I love what you
You
said
and
about like nobody's coming to save you because I feel the majority of people are they're still waiting for a savior. Even when let's talk about like
yes.
traditional Christianity, when you do get saved, is like you kind of need that like symbolic saving in order to improve your life or upgrade your life, but it's just because you've been so programmed and conditioned to believe that you need a savior, right? And if
Mm,
we think about it,
like placebo effect a
exactly, and if
little.
Yeah,
you think about it, the savior has always been inside of us, like those voices that you heard that was coming from the God within,
right.
right? And it's always here. Like we don't have to wait, we don't have to look outside for any savior. It's always inside of us, and that's one of the most beautiful discoveries that I've
Mm,
had. And also, I've gone through my journey of becoming a Christian and then starting to question a lot of it, and just finding my own way. And the beauty of it is that everything leads me always back to Yeshua, and it just makes me
Exactly.
like even if I've stepped away from traditional Christianity and like that you need a savior and like otherwise you're a sinner, blah blah blah. Like it's led me to learn more about his true teachings, his the way in such a beautiful way that just make it's I'm building this beautiful relationship with him because I know he's with me all the time.
I agree. So I just finished a cohort this year called the Enneagram and Contemplative Spirituality. Have you guys
interesting.
heard of contemplative spirituality? I'd never heard of it.
No, we haven't.
I've heard of contemplative Christianity, so I'm assuming it's around the same
It's
realm.
around the same thing, but it's sitting with God in a meditative state and not asking anything, not doing anything, just sitting there and allowing God to do basically work on
Mm,
you. And I've been doing that now for the past year, and it has blown open a
in,
lot.
interesting, because that's
Yeah,
something
it's
I
really
do
interesting.
actually. Like when I meditate
Yeah,
now,
same.
when I stay in silence, I'm just I mean,
Receiving.
yeah, exactly, and resting my consciousness on God and like just God consciousness and like trying to receive whatever comes, whether it is a voice or a vision, and it's been groundbreaking for me.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. So we're always in our heads.
Mm,
And thoughts are energy. So if we're always thinking about, why did that person do this or why didn't I do more of that? Whatever it is that keeps your mind in that monkey mind,
Mhm.
kind of scene, how can God get through? Right. But
Yeah.
when you can be still, and I've got a bunch of meditations on Insight Timer. So I've gone that route as well. But I've been meditating now for 8 years. But ever since I started this contemplative spirituality, it has really, and it's just sitting and saying, God, I'm here, and
Mhm.
just stop. Don't say anything
Mhm.
else.
Mhm.
Do whatever you need to do to still your mind. And sometimes I don't feel anything. I just, after the 10 minutes or 12 minutes, I got to, if you use Insight Timer, you can set a timer for that. And, you're like, oh, what happened? But you notice it during the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
notice more now that I'll stop and pause, and if I see a beautiful bird, for example, or if I see the numbers
Mm.
1111 on the microwave, or, just those little bitty instants of mystic moments, you
The
can connect.
synchronicity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely. And so it just opens you up because I do believe there's a veil. We're here in time and space, but we're spiritual beings with a human body. And it's opening
Mhm.
up that spiritual connection and the
Mhm.
veil thins when we can calm ourselves, calm our mind, and go back into
Mm.
our heart. So I wanted to tell you this on that video that you shared. about Mary Magdalene. I don't know who created it, but I watched the whole thing, fascinated. And I wrote down, and this is from that video, when the soul remembers its sovereignty, the illusion loses its
Uh,
power. So let's get our soul to remember its sovereignty. That's really what I'm trying to do.
that's
It's not about money, it's not about success in business. That's all the external. Let's work on the internal.
and I feel
Mhm.
that's really, like, our mission with the Mystic Misfits, like, help people remember
Yeah.
that their soul and they have sovereignty, that the divine, that they're divine by nature, and, we just forgot. I do have a question from Don. I'm gonna pull it out, and I would love to hear that from you, Catherine. Is there a difference, according to you, between meditating and praying?
I've always thought about praying as asking for something.
Mhm.
And
Mm,
meditating, there's so many different forms of meditation. You have guided meditation or, mantra meditation or whatever. And I think on some level, the two merge
yeah.
when you're present with God.
Yeah.
But if you're down here and looking at the different types of prayer and the different types of meditation, yeah, no, there are different. But if you can get to that space where you're present with God,
Yeah.
I call
Yeah.
I call God divine love. So,
Yeah.
and that's
It's
that's what
interesting.
I call it in the book, in the money
Money
tree.
tree.
It's not even just meditation or prayer. I feel like it's any time you connect with God, right? Because for me, I love doing yoga and Kundalini yoga in the morning. And
That's
that's
great.
how I like shut my mind off and I connect with the divine. And the same thing, like there are times where in the middle of this session, I'll have a download of some kind, gnosis come in, or it's like an hour later where I'm like in the kitchen and all of a sudden I have this thing come in. So I feel like it's more so like how do you and sometimes it's meditation for me too. Like I feel like I go in ebbs and flows, right? So at the end of the day, it's really the spiritual sovereignty and like listening to yourself and going with where you're being guided in this next step because there's probably some reason why you're being guided to this different layer of connection with the divine, with divine
Exactly.
love.
Yeah.
See, and I believe that our souls have a purpose, and that's why we're here. And
Mm,
so if you listen and go within, like you said, no matter how you get there, either through
yeah.
yoga or meditation or prayer, however you get to that place, I believe your soul's going to talk to you
Yes.
and
100%.
tell you and inform you. So again, it's what voice are you listening to?
Yeah.
It's stillness of any kind.
Exactly. I think praying is a form of meditation because at the end of the day, what meditation is
Mhm.
intending is to change your brain's frequency, right? Change
Airways.
your state, your waves,
Yeah.
and put you in like a meditative state. And you can do that through praying. I know that, for example, my grandmother, she does the rosary every night.
Yeah,
And,
my mom
like
does that too.
that act of like repeating the same prayer and like one and then like that also puts you in a meditative state. So that is also a meditation. But for me personally, the difference in my experience is when I meditate, I'm like in stillness and just silence. And then when I pray, I do speak out loud. I use my voice because again, we know
Mm,
like our voice has a frequency, and I would say that the frequency of our voice is more powerful than the frequency of our thoughts. So I do speak out loud when I'm praying, and I pray from a place of gratitude, of receivership, of assuming that what I am praying for has already been done. So I'm just thanking God for everything. I do thank for all the things that I have and that have happened in that day, but also for the things that I want to bring to my life, but assuming that they are already here.
yeah, it's interesting you say that when you as soon as you said that your voice is more powerful, when you look at human design, you can tell like if you're supposed to manifest out loud or you're not. So I think for some people it's actually through thoughts. It's through writing.
Interesting.
So, for anybody watching that wants to go look up at their chart, if your throat is defined, then you're like one and you need to speak it out loud for it to come to you. If it's not, then you probably need to sit down and you need to write it out or think it out. And it's less of a because if your throat is undefined, you're actually not here to speak your truth. You're here to speak others, speak for the collective. And so when it comes to your own manifestation, you're meant to be doing things like differently. So yeah, it was just interesting because I'm the same as you. I have a defined throat, so I have to like really voice it. So when I'm in the midst of like embodying the woman that's going to become the thing, I'm
Yeah.
also like telling everybody like, hey, this is going to happen. like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. Like, yeah. But that's not for everyone. So I just wanted to add that little
Interesting.
snippet.
Well,
Yeah.
Jess, you are gonna do my human design, so I can't wait to learn about that.
Yes, we need to find some time. I actually have time next week if you have time.
Sure. Yeah. I'll be there. Yeah.
Yeah.
She'll be
It's
there.
so
She's
it's so
excited to learn
So
interesting.
all about her.
what else do you wanna know? I mean, I'm kind of an open book.
Let's do the human design reading right now. I'm just kidding.
No, not that open.
She's not that open.
You just found my boundary.
We would no,
We
maybe we
all
would
have
love
to have them.
we would love to learn more about the work that you do with your clients. I know you help a lot of women to with wealth consciousness. So maybe, yeah, how you help them with the sacred money archetypes or spiritual psychology, mindfulness. Because you said you started this around 2020. Am I correct?
2018.
2018. Okay, okay. So yeah, if you want to
And
Mm,
share a bit more about that
yeah,
and maybe like a client story that you are allowed to share because I know sometimes these things are very private.
right. No, I understand. I, coached a lot of women in 2018, 2019. COVID just knocked me off my little trajectory because I was hosting meetings here in Dallas and I was, gathering
yeah.
women, and then COVID just it's like it sucked the air out of the room.
Yeah.
That was my, experience of it. So that's when I decided, you know what? I can still help people by writing a book. So that's when I wrote The Money Tree. And then it's like, what do you do to help market the book? Well, I created a course that goes with it and I created meditation. So that's when I got into really deep creator mode. And it wasn't until probably 2 years ago. Well, I redid my website last year. So that's really when I started saying, you know what? I felt like I'd been hiding a little bit since COVID. I still had some clients, but not as many. And I just decided last year, okay, if you're going to do this, no one is coming to
No one is
to
coming.
repeat, to remind, and let's see what can happen and how it can help. So I'm still coaching, but that's not my focus. My
Okay.
focus right now is to introduce people to this concept of empowered wealth consciousness. I've got a really great audio course. It's a 7-day meditation and it takes you through, what is empowered wealth consciousness? How do you connect to presence? And then how do you take this out to the world? But it's a 7-day audio course. And
Yeah.
so I felt like that's how I'm serving people, is to open up this realization that, hey, maybe there's another way to show up.
Yeah.
And then of course I mentioned flow, and flow has been so fun, the AI. And I have
Mhm.
one client that she will not mind at all me telling this story. She hired so many different marketers, copywriters, just to try to get her website copy where she felt like it resonated and it just
Yeah.
vibrated off the page. And none of it quite fit, but she paid them a lot of money. So okay, I'll go ahead and use that. Well, we sat
Mm,
down and I'd already coached her on her money archetypes, but then we started working with the 5 sovereign pillars,
mhm,
and she realized she's a 2 on the Enneagram, so she's very much of a helper, and
mhm,
she's also the nurturer money archetype. Well, what that combination, she just gives away money. I mean, she helps people
mm.
and some people come to her and it's a beautiful thing, but she realized she was, it wasn't
She wasn't
helping her.
giving herself any money.
Yeah, she wasn't giving herself any. So we worked on that, and the sovereign pillar that really helped her was the energetic reciprocity. So she had to learn to receive as well as give.
That is a huge lesson for so
And for
many
women, that
souls.
is such a huge lesson. And once she started practicing that, because we're rewiring ourselves, right? We have these patterns, they developed when we were young, and it was for safety and protection. But now that's not who you want to be anymore, but it still shows up. So it's digging into those patterns, digging into what is it? What is the motivation behind it? And then kind of looking at it and becoming aware and saying, I don't want to do that anymore. And so again, awareness is the key. So when she was able to begin receiving, she cut out a lot of these services that she was paying a lot of money for. And we
Mm,
used Flow AI, and I plugged in her archetypes. She downloaded Flow on her computer. We plugged in her money archetypes, but And this is what makes flow different. We plugged in her branding archetypes.
So
Oh.
So if you have your own business, you want to show up as your authentic, have your authenticity and your frequency come out so people who are meant to work with you will resonate. Well, you learn what that is by taking this assessment called branding with archetypes. And she did. She learned she's an alchemist. And I forgot the second one. Anyway, with that knowledge, we went into the AI who is trained in systems and started saying, "What's my message? This is what I do." And the output was beautiful. And she couldn't believe it. She was blown away.
wow.
And
It's
she totally
amazing.
doesn't mind me telling the story. And if you're interested in seeing what she created using flow, her website is called Quantum Energy Infusion.
I love it.
quantumenergyinfusion.com.
I love it. We'll be sharing that as well. It's so interesting because, I also come from the business and marketing coaching space. And I was also working with business and marketing coaches. And that's just something that never gets talked about. And it's so important. It's like way more important than like the tactics and the strategies and the frameworks that these coaches give you. Because again, it's
Yes.
it's alignment.
Exactly.
It's complete alignment. And if you're not in alignment, you can hustle all you want, but it's not going to work or as well as it could if you were in alignment.
Right.
I think
Exactly.
yeah.
And
That's the biggest red flag.
my website was created with flow using my branding archetypes as well. So,
Wow.
yeah, and that's why I'm like, "Go to my website, I love it." You just
'Cause it's you. It's
yeah,
like
it
you
feels
in yeah.
yeah, and it just learning that was really important to me, and that's why I've decided to kinda narrow my focus, narrow my audience to women spiritual entrepreneurs, because women
Mm,
have different ways of being in business than men do.
That's true.
And it's not good or bad, it's different, but if you try to be in business like a man, at least for me, it didn't work. I'll just speak for myself.
I
It
mean, for
didn't
me,
work.
for me, it didn't work either.
Yeah, well,
one
but
is in his
you're
feminine
more
era.
of a connection between the masculine and the
Yeah.
feminine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I do feel that I'm like really stepping into that balance lately, and I see so much more flow in my business.
Are you sure that this episode isn't called Flow?
I know it should
I do
be.
like what Dawn said though, but
Nobody's coming
I
to
think
What
we
did
save
he
said
you.
flow
say?
like 15 times.
He said that this
Nobody's
podcast,
coming.
yeah, nobody's coming.
Nobody's coming, yeah. So, Flo is the narrator of the book, The Money Tree, and she's a spirit who came to Earth to teach people about money, but she didn't expect to come as a tree.
Mm,
So it goes from there. It's a spiritual parable, but I had this
I
graphic
love that.
created,
It's
It's
and
beautiful.
it's
beautiful.
the Celtic
It's
knot with the
yeah,
feminine form in the middle,
I
but
can
it's
see
the
that.
connection with
And the
Earth
infinity.
and heaven, yeah. Yeah,
I
and
love that.
that's what I think of as flow.
I'm
So there's a lot of lessons. She helped this one woman in the book and couldn't understand why the woman was having so much trouble. And so Flo decided to take on that same ego energy, and it's really
Coach.
interesting what happens.
I'm
Mm,
curious because, I mean, before you did Empowered Way, you had a very successful career, but it's interesting that you are focusing on money and wealth consciousness. Did you ever struggle with your own relationship with money? Is that why one of the reasons why you're helping women with that now? I'm curious to learn about to
Yeah.
hear about your story in regards to that.
Well, I mentioned I have a twin brother, and I always felt like he got different instructions about money than I did. My
mm,
dad would take him aside and go work out in the workbench while I was doing the laundry or dishes. It was the
mm,
dichotomy of masculine versus feminine activities. And he went to law school, you know, was successful and then started buying and selling businesses. And now he's a multimillionaire. And when I was
mhm.
still in my victim mode, which, many years ago, but still, it was like, wait a minute. We both grew up in the same household. We both went to law school. Why is he this and me that? And
Yeah,
that's the danger of comparison
We've all been
it
there.
is.
because oh, totally. So what I had to realize was that, and again, going back to a tree, I love the analogy of a tree. When you stand under a tree and notice the way the branches go, and then one will split and go in a different direction, and then you'll have another one that
Mm,
curves around. In Texas, we have a lot of live oaks. and they just form these beautiful forms in space. And so I was underneath this one tree and I just said, "Why do I feel like this?" And the answer I got is, "He went on a different limb than you did. He has a different path
Mm,
than you do. There's no comparison
yeah.
because they're both soul driven and you're doing just fine, basically."
Mm,
So, to anyone who feels like you compare yourself or I haven't done as much as she did, just stand under a tree and study it and start
Beautiful.
yeah.
kind of getting out of your own ego because it's your ego,
Always the
totally your
ego.
ego.
Yeah.
And no one is, you're only a victim if you think you're a victim.
Mhm.
Right. So,
That's a
that's
hard thing
why
to flip, though.
it's so, what's the word? Enticing
Yeah.
because then it's not you, it's always them.
Yes.
And
And then
that's
it's
when
also a savior saving you and not you.
exactly. That's when you need a
Yeah.
savior. Yeah.
Right. And so in COVID, all during COVID, that's what I kept seeing was just this victimhood. And by then I'd already moved out of it. And I just, to see so many people, you should wear a mask, you should get vaccines, you're bad if you don't. And I felt that. I mean, I felt that directed to me. It just,
Yeah.
we're all here to be, I believe, to be soul driven and sovereign. And that does not include judgment of what someone else is doing. You have to see the Christ self in them, not their behavior. And that's where I am right now, trying to just be neutral, allow the person to speak their voice, but not judge it.
I love that you said neutrality because, again, when you are in the victimhood mindset, it's your perception, right? But it's actually everything you go through is neutral. It's you that decides
Yeah.
whether that is good or bad, success or failure, but everything in this life is neutral, right? So I
It's
love,
true.
yeah,
It really is.
Right. And
I
that's
think
one of
about
the teachings I make sure my clients understand. Everything
I
is
think it
neutral. And it's always
yes,
pushback.
it is.
It's like, well, no, this
Well,
happened
no,
and I can prove it happened. Well, yeah, the
it's not that it
fact.
didn't happen.
Okay, so I have another quick story if you want to hear
go ahead,
this
of
Yeah.
course.
that illustrates this. Last September, I went with a group tour through the south of France. And we went to various places where Mary Magdalene
Mm,
either preached or stayed. That was the purpose of the tour. And it was beautiful and we saw these great places. Well, we ended up in Chartres, France, which is where the labyrinth is. They call it the Mother Labyrinth. It's inside the cathedral. Okay, that's a whole nother story. Anyway, by the time we got to Chartres, we were supposed to do this class with another group and then walk the labyrinth. And we were there 5 nights. And we stayed in the monastery attached to the cathedral. And it's now a hotel, but it's a monastery. Was a monastery. So the rooms are very austere. I mean, they're nice and they've redone the bathrooms, but it's a bed, it's a table, it's a lamp, and that's pretty much it.
yes. It's a jail cell.
Well, that's what it could feel like. So, what happened was there was a group of, younger 40ish people, and then there was a group of 60 plus. So, of course, I was with the 60 plus. Well, one of them brought COVID with them, and all
Of
six of
course.
us got COVID. Yeah. So,
Not awesome.
okay, so we had to stay in our rooms, these monastic rooms. That was
Mhm.
fine because it was, very safe, very protected. But after a day or two, this other friend of mine and I, we were like, well, let's go out. Let's do this. And I had been to Chartres before, so I took her around the city and showed her some of the sites. They started sharing the recordings of the main group because they would meet every morning and there would be a teaching and activities, and then they would go do something out in the city. So they started sharing those recordings and we were listening and it was great. And we kind of felt part of the group, even though we were still isolated.
Mhm.
And about the third day in, one of the teachers in the recording at the end said, let's pray for those who have COVID because they were not spiritually aware enough to not get it.
What?
Yeah. I got so mad. I was furious. And it just kept going on and on. I couldn't get to sleep. I was awake. I was agitated. I just, like, how dare she? Blah, 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 blah.
Mm,
And then I finally, at, like 3 a.m, calmed down and said, well, what is the one fact here? Yeah, you did get COVID. That is a fact. You
Mm.
cannot argue your
yeah.
way out of that. I was trying to argue my
Yeah.
way out of it. And they should do this and they should do that. And so once I came back to that neutral fact, I said, well, what does that mean to me? And it came back to me being my own authority. And
Mm,
that was a big moment for me. That was a big
yeah,
moment because we had felt isolated and kind of judged. And after that, I was like, they can judge all they want. I will not believe it. And I won't,
exactly.
because it's not
Yes.
true for me.
Yeah. It's not true for you, but her spiritual superiority is true for her.
I can't help that. I can't control that.
Exactly.
So I started showing up obviously differently. It didn't change
Mhm.
them. They still kept treating us like we were lepers. But, you know,
Nice. Yeah.
yeah, I just
So
said,
very
screw it.
Christ-like, very demure right there.
Just try, like,
Very
yeah, no problem. So anyway, it's just when you become aware of that difference between victimhood, which I definitely was in because I felt like they were judging me and I was accepting it, to being sovereign. That's the difference. And it's that movement from that different energy. And you feel so different when you move from victimhood,
Yeah.
which keeps you fearful,
Mm.
small. You start judging others. You start thinking, well, I'm going to do this to get back at, all of that.
Yes.
But when
I
you
think that's the
unravel
thing with,
that,
like, witchcraft. That's why, like, they say it's so evil because they get in their heads that somebody's cursing them and then they're cursing
yeah,
each other, but really you're doing it to your own.
right,
Yeah.
right, right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just wanted to share that.
Beautiful.
No,
You're
that's
such a
beautiful.
storyteller. I love that. Well, I mean, you've written
Well,
5 books, so it makes sense. I do.
thank you for listening.
No, it's our pleasure. I do want to know, like, money is such a big topic for everyone, and a lot of the people that struggle with money, they are living in this victim mentality. Like, it's fact, and it's just as
Mhm.
simple as becoming aware and like making a decision. But I would love to hear from you. I mean, it's not as simple as it sounds, obviously, but like technically it is. But I would love to hear from you. What do you wish people understood more about money as energy?
Ooh, that's a great question. Okay. So everything is energy, right? And that's what money is. Money is just energy. And if everything is energy and money is energy, that means your thoughts are also energy. And as you know, your thoughts will show up in the outside world as your reality. So that's what I mean by victimhood versus sovereignty. The thoughts that are generated in each of those two different levels of consciousness will enforce and influence and increase the reality of that level of consciousness. So when you can see that money is neutral, energy doesn't have emotion. Now, emotions are energy, but you take pure energy, it's totally neutral. And
Yeah.
money is totally neutral. So when you can align your thoughts with abundance, everyone is abundant within. Just think of how many thoughts you have. Just that fact alone proves you're
Yeah,
abundant.
it's like 70,000 a
Yeah.
day. Like, it's
Yeah,
actually
they say
insane.
60 or 70,000 a day. And our mind
Yeah.
can only process, 5 to 7. So focus on those thoughts that allow you to reach this higher level of consciousness, which is abundance, gratitude, love, joy, all the higher levels of consciousness. So I don't know if that answered your question.
No, it does. It does. And now that we're talking about abundance, how would you, like, if you were talking to a client that's living in scarcity right now, how would you flip the script in their minds to remind them that they're abundant? Like a one thing that you would tell them.
Talking is one way to communicate, but that's why I love meditation because you can feel it. And so that's
Mm,
why I go back to that audio course, Empowered Wealth Consciousness. I've had people come up to me and say, oh my God, I never would have gotten that by you talking about it. But
Mm,
I
yeah.
experienced it. And Jesse, you do that in your meditations and in your somatic practices. Once your body embraces that level of energy, because consciousness is energy.
hmm
And so once
Exactly.
you embody that, it will naturally flow. The
Mhm.
the difficulty I've had in explaining this is, everyone wants a strategy. Everyone wants a process. And this is
That's
a
the ego.
knowing.
It's a
And
It
how do
is a
knowing.
you
knowing.
how do you how do you share
It's this.
this knowing until
Yes.
you get it? And
Yeah.
that's been my dilemma.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We talked about this in one of our threshold sessions, and it's like I also struggle with scarcity thoughts sometimes. And the other day, I was in that, like, I was aware that I was getting into that scarcity mode, and I went for a run, and I was like, okay, so what is the proof that I am abundance, because I by nature we're all abundant. We're
Yeah.
abundance, right? It's like it's the natural state of creation. So I was like, okay, well, I just looked around and I saw nature everywhere. It's like plants, trees, flowers, and there's such an abundance of those, right? And if we're all made, we all come from the same source. We're all part of the same creation. We're one. We're like part of we're oneness, right? That means that I'm also nature, and that nature is also me, which means that I am the
Exactly.
abundance of nature. The abundance of nature is in me. So that allowed me to, like, like calm myself down and bring myself back to like to my center and be like, okay, that scarcity state. It's not true. It's not true.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful process. For those who become aware that they're thinking scarcity or limitation or lack, you have to break that cycle. And going
Mhm.
outside, that's a perfect example. Being in nature. I read a trilogy called The Way of the Master. Have you guys read that?
No.
Oh, it's fabulous. You would absolutely love it. And there's a quote in there, and I'm going to paraphrase, but it's something about when you believe you're one with God, the blades of grass celebrate your passing.
Mm,
I mean, and I'm not saying
mhm.
I'm in that consciousness, that space all the time, but I try to remember that when I'm outside and in nature because it brings
Yeah.
such peace,
Yeah.
and what's the Bible verse, the lilies of the field, you know, the Father clothes them in colors in so much more
Yeah.
splendor than Solomon could ever imagine, something
Yeah,
like that.
it's we did it. We looked at it last session.
Right.
Matthew chapter 7, 23
Yeah.
verses 23 to like 30
6?
or 6.
Something,
Is it
yeah.
chapter 7 or I don't know.
You can
But
Yeah.
post that.
yes.
Yeah. But do
Yeah.
not worry about tomorrow, because tomorrow will worry about itself on its own.
Or the birds. I always go back to the birds in the Bible too, which I think is in that same chapter.
Mhm.
Talking look at the
Yeah.
birds, they never worry about anything, and yet God always provides.
Yeah. They're not
Yeah.
worrying
And it's
about.
interesting because we're going to talk about this tonight in our decoding, but when you think about you probably had exactly what one said, which is like conventional success. You
Mhm.
manifested conventional success. I know I've had it with my past business. I know Juan's had it. And when you're not manifesting that in alignment, you're not like your soul's not getting what it wants from it. And then eventually you step out of that alignment too. Like you step out of that, what you thought was amazing is no longer amazing, and we'll and then you look at, trying to manifest when you're not aligned. It really is about unraveling. And it's funny because you use the word unraveling and you said you didn't go into psychology because Freud was all about unraveling. And then later on you talked about how you unraveled. And I was like, I think,
Well,
and so this isn't, it's important to note, though, that our perceptions of what, again, exactly what you've been saying this whole time, it's all about perception, right? So your perception back then with this was that this thing was bad, and that it actually was part of your journey that got you to here. And I just had a conversation with an old friend of mine yesterday who was diagnosed with cancer a year and a half ago, and it's now shrinking. She's done no conventional methods. It's all about
really.
inner work. And the first thing she said, she did some plant medicine. She went into this meditation, and she basically was told, like, to change the frequency of the word cancer because the word cancer to us is bad. Like, it's negative. We've been taught that it's like you're gonna die. Like, if the big C comes, you're dead, right? Like, it's the end of your life. And she was like, "This is an opportunity. This is a lesson." And that's how she started to see it. And then she's also been obviously doing a lot of inner work in the process, but it's been shrinking. And so that's just the idea that we've talked about this a few times about how words are, it's not only the intention that somebody's throwing it at you, but it's how you choose to receive it. And so you really
Absolutely.
are the creator of your own reality. Like you
Yeah.
really are the
Exactly.
most sovereign as fudge
I
person
Mm.
was
here.
just about to say that. And when you become a conscious creator, that is to me, that's the sweet spot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because we're creating consciously or unconsciously. So what if instead of creating unconsciously, we stepped into our sovereignty and created consciously? Because
Mm.
majority of people are creating their reality unconsciously, and they're in the victim mentality, blaming everyone else or everything externally, waiting for a savior. I think this concludes this episode so beautifully, right? But in the reality, it's you. You
Nobody's
are the
coming
creator. Nobody's coming, and you've
Well,
thought
you are enough.
you
When you say no one's coming, you're not, yeah, you are
because
enough.
you
you
are
are enough.
enough. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because you
yeah.
are enough, right?
Yeah.
That's a truer statement. No one's coming because you are enough. So get to know that you.
Yeah.
I feel that should be
Get
the,
to
The
the
know.
title
creator.
for the episode.
Right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Awesome. Jesse, is there anything else you would like to ask Kathryn or anything else that you want to add before wrapping this up?
No, this was beautiful. It's a beautiful conversation. Thank you so much for being here, Kathryn.
Yeah, I could talk about this all day, and I'm so glad to have found you guys, and I totally support what you're doing because the ripple effect is huge. The ripple effect is huge, and I'm so glad to
I
be a part of it. So thank you.
I'm I'm so glad to have you with us, and I, for one, am going to be getting off this call and downloading Flow.
Yeah. And ordering the money tree. Was it called the money tree?
The Money Tree.
It's on Amazon. See the
Yes,
book. Yeah. So
I'm
definitely.
I
Thank
also
definitely
you
have
gonna
for
get
one
it.
that.
other thing too. This would make a great Christmas gift if I could do a little plug.
Yes.
Speaking again of AI, used ChatGPT to create graphics.
Mm.
And I have also a coloring book, The Sacred Feminine Journal. And so you color, it's got all kinds of graphics on the inside. I don't know if I can show you. But I
Well,
also
you
added
just finished my whole Christmas list.
oh, thank you. I also created meditations for each section of the book, and you access the meditations through the QR code, which I was so proud of myself for figuring that out.
I
Wow.
am so proud of you, and I'm buying this for myself. I was thinking I should buy it for my 13-year-old, but no, I deserve this.
Coloring is also,
Right.
and it puts you into a meditative state, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
put on some of your
Yes.
lovely music, Jess, that music that you use to get, and you want to get in
Yeah.
what, theta, alpha, theta, you want to get in theta. And as you're coloring, it's amazing. I did this yesterday with a group of women, and you could just feel them just start to relax. They were like, yeah, this is really fun. I forgot about this.
Kathryn,
Yes.
Sue is asking if all of this is available on your website because I've shared the website with them.
Yes, the 2 books are available through Amazon.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you
Perfect.
look up my name on Amazon, you'll find them. And you have to be sure you spell it Eriksen.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yes.
Before we
Yeah.
go,
But thank you.
shall we closing prayer?
Yes.
I feel like we never do a closing prayer. Yes,
We
let's
did
do it.
last episode. By the way, this
Did
episode
we?
is going live in like 2 weeks' time. So right before the end of the year or first week of 2026 in two
Yeah.
weeks. Because we're launching the
Great.
first episode this Friday, next episode, second next Friday. So it would be like 2 weeks from now. So yeah, let's close our eyes and place our hands in our
How's it almost
hearts.
Christmas?
I know.
Okay.
Or just prayer mode, whatever feels more comfortable for you. Dear Father and Mother God, may the wisdom shared today settle gently into the hearts of everyone listening. May Kathryn's story remind us that awakening is not a break from our lives, but a return to who we have always been. May every woman and every soul who hears these words remember their inherent worth, their creative power, and their divine ability to shape reality from love instead of fear. May abundance flow where freedom is chosen. May clarity rise where confusion once lived. May peace take root where old stories are released. And may each of us walk forward with the courage to trust the voice within. The path Kathryn has walked, the truth she carries, and the light she shares. And we honor the path awakening in each of us now. Amen.
Man, that was beautiful. All right.
Well,
Thanks,
well,
guys.
thank you so much, and we'll see you tonight.
Yeah, so fun. Thank you
Yes.
so much.
Yeah.
Bye bye.
Thank you.